So we have all been in that space, right? The converted warehouse office or the ultra-modern coffee shop with the exposed beams.
Oh, yeah. Looks
It
amazing.
looks amazing, but acoustically, it is usually um, a total disaster. You're dealing with hard surfaces, massive volume, and the sound just gets completely lost up in the rafters.
Right. It's that classic trade-off between visual design and acoustic reality. Because once you remove the drop ceiling, you lose your primary sound dampener and, well, your mounting points.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we are looking at a piece of hardware specifically engineered to reclaim that acoustic control, the Kramer PN-6P-B.
And looking at the specs we pulled from HDTV Supply, our mission today is to figure out how this thing actually bridges the gap. It's trying to be this rugged industrial fixture while delivering what they call audiophile-grade performance.
Let's unpack the form factor first, because, I mean, it's not subtle at all,
No, it really isn't, and that is kind of the whole point. It's a pendant design.
meaning it just hangs freely from the ceiling structure.
Sure. Right. And the benefit here isn't just aesthetics, it's physics. By dropping the speaker down on a cable, you are physically moving the sound source closer to the listener's ear.
Bypassing all that horrible reverb in the upper ceiling cavity.
Exactly.
And looking at the installation data, they include a specific suspension system for this. It's 4.5 meters of galvanized steel wire. But the thing that really jumped out to me was the inclusion of the gripple fastener.
Oh, the gripple fastener is huge.
It sounds funny, yeah. But if you've ever tried to level a hanging object, you know that being able to adjust the height without tools is just a massive time saver for installers.
Huge time saver. If you're hanging 50 of these in a massive food hall, that tool-free leveling means you get uniform height across the whole room in just a fraction of the time. But let's look inside the enclosure.
Because the exterior is really just the housing.
Right, the driver configuration is where the actual engineering happens. This is a coaxial setup.
Which is critical for a speaker suspended directly overhead. Since the tweeter is literally nested inside the woofer, you create a single-point source.
Yeah, you don't get that phase issue.
Right, where the high frequencies arrive at your ear at a different time than the lows.
Which happens a lot with separate drivers. That phase coherence is vital when you're moving around underneath the speaker. You've got a 6.5-inch polypropylene cone with a rubber surround for the lows and mids, and a 0.75-inch soft dome tweeter right in the center.
And a detail that matters here is that the tweeter is liquid-cooled.
Which is usually to manage thermal buildup.
Exactly. In a commercial space, these things run for maybe 12, 14 hours a day, and the ceiling is the hottest part of the room.
So that liquid cooling ensures the voice coil doesn't just fry during extended playback.
And that actually ties right into the dispersion pattern. The spec sheet lists a 108-degree conical dispersion.
That is incredibly wide.
It is. It implies they're trying to minimize that spotlight effect, where the sound is only good if you stand directly underneath it.
You nailed it. A tight beam creates hot spots and dead zones. With 108 degrees, you get generous overlap between the speakers. It creates this uniform blanket of sound.
So as you walk from the entrance to your table, the volume stays completely consistent.
Right. Now here is where it gets really interesting for the system architects listening. This unit isn't locked into just one mode.
It has a tap selector, right?
Sure.
For both 8-ohm and 70-volt or 100-volt operation.
Yeah, which is basically the difference between a listening room and a distributed system. If you run it at 8 ohms, you prioritize fidelity.
Schroeder cable runs, direct power. Great for a smaller, high-quality setup.
But if you're outfitting a massive airport terminal, you can't run heavy-gauge speaker wire to every single unit.
No, you'd switch to 70-volt.
Precisely. That lets you daisy-chain dozens of speakers over incredibly long distances using much thinner cables.
You sacrifice just a tiny bit of fidelity for massive scalability. And it handles 30 watts continuous power.
With peaks up to 45 watts, yeah. And the transformer inside handles that step down so you can drive a whole floor with just one amplifier.
We definitely have to touch on the safety aspect too. Because hanging a 7-pound weight over people's heads requires some serious assurances. The specs highlight UL 1480A certification.
That's the standard for speakers in fire alarm and signaling systems.
Right, it's not just about the plastic not catching fire.
No, it means the speaker maintains its structural integrity under extreme heat. If there's a fire, this unit isn't going to melt and drop onto the evacuation route.
Which is a critical liability shield for any commercial installation.
So pulling this all together, the PN-6P-B is essentially utility masking as decor.
Taking the ruggedness of a PA system, the 70-volt tapping, the safety ratings, and hiding it inside a coaxial high-fidelity shell that fits modern design briefs.
It solves an architectural problem without compromising the audio experience.
It really changes how I look at those oaken ceilings. And here's a thought for you to leave with. We have spent decades trying to make speakers completely invisible, right? Burying them in walls and drop ceilings.
Oh, for sure. They were just utilities.
But with products like this, we're seeing the guts of the building actually become the focal point. At what point does audio equipment stop being just an invisible utility and start becoming essential to the visual decor as, say, a designer light fixture?
It's a fascinating blur between infrastructure and art.
Something for you to mull over next time you're grabbing coffee under an exposed steel beam.
Ugh.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.